Heidi, good afternoon. Now, towns such as eMalahleni are highly reliant on the coal industry. And I know that for the longest time, they've been quite fearful of turning into some sort of a ghost town beyond this just transition. What are they saying currently? Are they looking to diversify their economy?
Yes, certainly. I think this is a huge concern, given that top of the agenda of COP26 is to phase out coal-dependent economies and countries. And we do know that in parts of Mpumalanga and other areas in South Africa, there's still a heavy reliance on coal. We do know here in eMalahleni, it's known as the city of coal, and other areas where here in eMalahleni, just outside of eMalahleni, we have seen these towns closing because there's no more coal and they have become ghost towns. So the big concern is what's going to happen with places like eMalahleni, like Urgis, and other nearby areas that are heavily dependent on coal, given the pressure for South Africa to consider other energy sources and not to be so dependent on coal. But we are joined by the Highveld Deputy Regional Chairperson. Bisa, thank you so much for your time. We appreciate it. Let's just start off with your initial thoughts on the fact that there is more pressure to get countries like South Africa to not be so dependent on coal. We're standing in eMalahleni that is heavily dependent on coal, an economy that's built on the dependence of coal. What are your thoughts on this?
Now, obviously, we want to indicate that the pressure is unfair because South Africa is a developing country. It's not yet developed. If you looked into developed countries, for an example, China, its electricity is still being generated through coal. 65% of electricity of China is still being generated through coal. You go to India, of course, 62% of electricity of India is still generated through coal. So that particular pressure, it is unfair to a developing country such as South Africa. We think that this particular process of rushing, in particular a developing country, is very unfair, and it will have devastating effects, negative devastating effects towards South Africa.
So before we get into the negative effects that it could have on South Africa, this is a conversation that's been had for many years, that it's unhealthy, it's not effective and efficient to only have a country like South Africa solely dependent on coal. So this conversation has been, we've had this conversation for many years. It's not just COP26 that's bringing it back into the light. Surely government and the unions, such as the National Union Mine Workers, should have been having a discussion for alternative sources of electricity and energy.
It's true. In actual fact, we are for renewables. We are not opposed to the renewables, but we are saying that the process needs to be holistic. It should not just be a process or a decision that has been taken by the few, because if we are reckless in our approach, we'll end up having a situation. For example, you know that South Africa, in terms of unemployed, is the highest in the world. So if we just do things haphazardly, we will end up having devastating negative effects, not only towards this particular province, but towards this particular city, because like you have indicated, this is a city of coal, and this particular province is relying on this particular city for it to advance on its economic posture. But if indeed we will, the decision or the resolution will be reckless and impetuous, it will indeed have challenges into this particular economy of our country. But the NUM is clear. We are for renewables, but we are saying that we cannot just rush. It can't just be something that will happen like a wink of an eye. It should be a process. You should take in confidence, in particular, the residents or the communities of eMalahleni, the workers that are affected, because we've got workers who are directly affected. Let me give a practical example. If you go to Duva Power Station, there is a mine there called Middelburg Mines or Eastern Operation. So if you're going to shut down Duva, it therefore means that particular mine will be affected. Employees who are working that particular mine will be affected. Hence, are saying that it should be a process that is holistic, that is taking each and everyone in confidence, so that we understand what is it that is going to happen going forward. But we are for renewables, but we disagree with this haphazard approach of the renewables.
Okay, and just very quickly, Lisa, just tell us how many jobs could possibly be on the line should coal not be used anymore. Let's just say, hypothetically, it's not used anymore here in eMalahleni. How many jobs are we looking at that could possibly be lost?
It's a lot. It's a lot. I just want to give you a practical example. We have plus minus 11 power stations. And like we've indicated, each and every power station is given coal by a mine. So if ever you've got 11 power stations, you can say 11 power stations plus 11 mines. You'll find in a situation where, for example, a mine like Kutala is having 1,400 employees. And a mine, that particular mine is giving coal to Kendal. Kendal, its own employees, they are plus minus 500. But we have not yet included contractors. Even in Kutala, we have not yet included contractors. But I want to take you to a direct example. You go to Hendrena Power Station. Hendrena Power Station is the surrounding communities. You will have that there is a hawker there who's selling bananas to those who are coming in the power station. So if you close that particular power station, you are also taking away the bread of that particular hawker. So hence we are saying that it will have devastating negative effects. Don't look into the workforce alone, but look also into the hawkers who are also benefiting from these particular employees, be it employees of the mines and employees of a power station.
Okay, great. Thanks so much for your insights. I think it was important to speak to the Union of Mine Workers here in the province, in eMalahleni, because this is a huge problem that they obviously need to address and need to have a discussion of. As you heard, devastating impact, but of course the agenda on COP26 is renewable energy and to have economies like South Africa not solely dependent on coal.
No, certainly a very emotive subject, one with divergent views, I must say, because in as much as there is a need to move to cleaner energy, we do hear what the gentleman is saying, that you have developed economies pushing for this to happen at a much faster pace, whereas such countries as ours are unfortunately heavily reliant on coal and feeling that many other industries actually developed their economies on this dirty energy, and they're hoping that they could be given just a little bit of time to get their things together. But I also do think it warrants a conversation with the municipalities there to say, show us your local economic development strategy. How do you plan to reskill? And as much as you want to be given time, show us something that you're doing at the present moment, because it will have a devastating effect. Thank you very much, Heidi, for joining us. Hopefully we'll catch up with you a bit later on as the day progresses.